Hi, my name is Derek Just, and I am a graduate counseling intern for CALS Career Services, and I'm here to talk to you about how to prepare for a career fair. So prior to the date of the fair, you're going to want to do a few things. The first of which is to download Career Fair Plus, which is an app we'll cover a little bit on the next slide. You're going to want to clarify your career goals, research the organizations, prepare a list of questions for the employers, polish your resume, choose your wardrobe, and prepare and practice. So that first step in Career Fair Plus, this is an app that NC State uses to give students an idea of who's going to be at the career fair, and it'll have some information on those employers. So it can really be a helpful way to kind of get you started, and it'll have a map of the career fair generally, so you can kind of get an idea of the layout and do a little bit of research. So you just download the app or go to the web page, create yourself an account. You can build a profile, upload a copy of a resume there. It'll have an option to register for the career fair. So this may or may not be required depending on if the event is virtual or not. So refer to the specific event page of the career fair to kind of make sure. But if the event is virtual, then almost assuredly you'll have to register to be able to book specific times. And if it's in person, you may not have to register. And if you have any questions about the app, you can either contact someone at CALS and we can help you out with it, or there's a number of instructional videos on YouTube that'll kind of break down what the app does and how to get it going. The second step is to clarify your career goals. So you really want to understand why you're going to the fair and what you're hoping to get out of it. And once you kind of realize or have come to the conclusion about why you're going to the fair, you can better enable yourself to pick out the path that best fits that goal. Clarify your personal goals, both short-term and long-term. So maybe your short-term goal is to find an internship over the summer, whereas your long-term goal, once you graduate in a couple of years, might be to obtain a full-time research position. And it's also worth noting that employers are more receptive to people who have a focused goal than they are to someone who's willing to do anything. So if they're asking you what you're interested in or what you'd be willing to do for the company, you might think it's a great idea to say, hey, I'm flexible, I'm open, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. And that's not a bad answer, but it's better to know exactly what your skill set is and to kind of be laser focused on what you'd like to do. The third step is to do research on the organization. So again, check the Career Fair Plus app or the event page and find the list of all the employers that will be there. That will allow you to then do some research on them specifically, pick out the organizations that will be there that are within your field. So if that happens to be animal science, horticulture, biology, whatever it happens to be, find out which of those companies are in those fields, because you might not recognize the names of all the companies or what they do. So it's worth looking into all of them from that employer list. Once you've done that, create 3 employer groups. So make one where the organizations that you're very interested in, make another list for the ones that you're somewhat interested in, and then make a third list of the ones that pique your interest a little bit, but might be long shots. And then what we recommend that you do is to visit those booths for those companies in reverse order. So the one that you are the least interested in, visit those first. And the reason that we recommend that is because, like with anything, the more reps that you have, the better you are at it. So chances are you've got a little bit of nerves going into the career fair, and maybe you mess up your elevator pitch the first time that you give it, or struggle a little bit, or you want to work your anxiety out early. So the company that you're most interested in should be the one that you visit last. The fourth step is to prepare a list of questions to ask the employers. So that should be based on your research. So whatever employers that you're most interested in, start developing a list of questions for them. This helps demonstrate that you're genuinely interested in, that you're not just walking up to a booth saying, hey, what do you do? Who are you? But you're rather like, hey, I did some research and your company does X, Y, and Z, and I find that very interesting. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? That helps you stand out. And if possible, ask questions that aren't answered by research. So not just, hey, where are you located? Because you should be able to figure that out with a quick Google search. It's better to ask questions that wouldn't be available on the website, like what are the company values like? What's the office culture like? What sort of products or research or services are they working on in the future? Step 5 is to polish your resume. So you want to bring a copy of your resume with you. So you want to make sure that it's clear and concise, that it can very easily be scanned and readable as the resume to the left is. You could take a look at that resume and very quickly find out what this individual does, what they specialize in, the classes that they've taken, etc. The professional summary at the top, we have a number of tools on the CALS website that can help you write that professional summary. You can also look at the career guide for tips about how to write that. And if you have any issues with your resume at all, or even if you feel it's pretty good, but you're not positive about it, have your resume reviewed beforehand. Go to EPAC and sign into sign into EPAC, make an appointment through CALS Career Services, and we'd be more than happy to take a look at your resume for you. The 6th step is to choose your wardrobe. So you want to be dressed professionally because you want the employer to be impressed by you, and you want them to focus on you and what you have to offer and not your wardrobe, right? So you don't want to show up wearing jeans and a sweatshirt, or to be in your pajamas or anything like that. Even if it's virtual, you still want to be dressed professionally. So we've got some examples on the slide about what business professional dress looks like and what business casual dress looks like. So at the very least, you want to be business casual. And if you have the ability to go the extra mile and to dress business professionally, we recommend that too. Usually the better you look, the better you feel, and the better you feel, the more confident you are. The 7th step is to prepare and practice. So you don't want the first conversation that you have at the career fair to be the first time that those words have ever left your mouth. So you'd like, ideally, when you walk up to a booth, to have it be conversational. It's not the same as a job interview. It's information gathering. You're letting them know a little bit about you. You're finding out a little bit more about them, and you want that to be a symbiotic relationship. So you don't want your initial greeting to them to just sound rehearsed and mechanical. But you do want to give them some basic information right from the get-go, like your name, of course, what you've majored in, your minors, some of the skills that you bring to the table, some of your previous experience, especially if it relates to the field, and what your short and long-term goals are. That helps show personal interest and connection. And that's one of the best reasons that you have for doing research on the company. So when you actually go up and speak to them, you're speaking from a point of knowledge. As you see the quote below, one of our CALS employers say that they hire for attitude and train for skill. So how charismatic you are and how engaging you are in these pitches with the individuals, it really makes a big difference, and that's why it's important to practice. Still on the topic of preparation and practice, just be aware that there'll be other questions. So you've practiced your introduction, and that's great, but be aware that there's going to be some follow-up and back and forth. So you want to prepare for that. Know what strengths you bring to the table. Maybe know some areas of lesser strength that you have, like maybe you didn't get quite as, you haven't had an internship yet, or you just recently switched majors, so you don't have quite as much experience in a given field as some others might have. So at least kind of be aware of those and figure out a way to answer those questions. Know why you're interested in the company. And if you want some practice with that, again, that's something that we can help out with CALS by making an appointment, or if you can practice that sort of conversational pitch with a friend, roommate, family member, etc., it's really helpful. The more reps, the better. If you need any additional help before the career fair starts, just go to EPAC and check out the event calendar. There very well may be some helpful preparatory events. There might be a CALS Resume Day coming up. There could be a career conference coming up, PAC Pros in-person events coming up, and that PAC Pros in-person is a career readiness series that's led by the Career Development Center. And they usually hold, sometimes 1 or 2 events a week throughout the semester. So it's worth going to that page and seeing if they have anything come up that's that you feel that would be beneficial to you for the fair. Some other options that aren't as dependent on the calendar is LinkedIn Learning. So for example, there's a really great module that they have there about how to make a great first impression, which is extremely applicable to a career fair. So that's something that you can take and complete on your own time. That's free for all NC State students. So if you don't have LinkedIn Learning set up, definitely worth looking into. There's also Pack Pros Online, which is similar to the in-person version, except they're at your own pace, obviously, because they're recordings or they're modules that you can do on your own. All right, so let's talk about what to do on the actual day of the fair. What do you want to have with you? Well, you want to bring the notes that you've done from your research. You want to bring that employer list of questions so it's fresh in your mind. You want to have a physical copy of your resume printed out, preferably multiple copies. You also want to have a digital version of your resume available, and make sure that's in PDF form, not Word doc or Google Doc, because depending on how the other person opens it, you might have a great looking resume, but unbeknownst to you, the format gets messed up. So if you put it in PDF first, the way that you're looking at it is the same way that they'll look at it. So definitely make sure to convert that file. You want to bring a pen and pencil, preferably in a Padfolio, because a Padfolio is a little more professional looking than just having a flip book or a scrap piece of notebook paper with you. And you want to have access to your calendar in case there's an opportunity coming up with that company, or you want to schedule another meeting with them. You have a list of when you're available and when you're not. Next steps, so the career fair is finished. Some things that you can do is to follow up with anyone who you feel you've made a nice connection with. LinkedIn's a great way to do that. Just find the name of the person or the name of the company and connect on there. You can find out if they're actively hiring or if they're not. Ask them how you can stay connected and what the best way for you to keep up the speed on any future opportunities. Another thing that you should do following anyone that you've met that you're interested in is to send a follow-up note. So within a day of the fair, just a brief note that reminds that you were at the career fair, you met them there, mention some specific details from the conversation, ask for some next steps, thank them for their time and the opportunity, and you can attach a copy of your resume if you didn't have a chance to give them at the fair. So we have an example of that here. As you can see, it's just a couple paragraphs worth saying, hey, nice to meet you. Really enjoyed meeting you at the Career Expo. Thanks for taking the time to tell me about the opportunities. Really enjoyed the upcoming exhibit on agriculture. I think that'd be a great fit for my horticulture background. I've applied for the internship as you suggested. Here's a copy of my resume to remind you of my qualifications. Love to talk to you about how I can contribute to the goals. Thank you. So a couple paragraphs, takes 5 minutes to craft, and really helps set you apart from all the other people who they may have met who didn't take the time to do this step. If you still have any questions about this process, or you want your resume looked at in person, you want to practice an interview, you want to practice conversational skills, you have questions about one company versus another company, please don't hesitate to schedule a counseling appointment with CALS. You can just log into ePAC, and you can see I've highlighted where the counseling appointments section is on there. Click counseling appointment, pick the topic that you're interested in. There's virtual appointments and in-person appointments available depending on which works best for you, and we'd be happy to meet with you there. All right, thank you so much for your time, and if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out, and best of luck with the fair.